Alright, so, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of talk over Joe the Condor as a character. We've talked about doing character tutorials for a while now. Hasn't really happened. Hopefully we'll get like real tutorials up on every character later. But for now, I just figured I'd get something out there. There's been a lot of interest in Joe the Condor lately, because one, he's cool, and two, we had him at like the lowest spot on our tier list that we did a few weeks ago. So I'm going to kind of talk over what kind of character he is, what his gameplay, his game plan is, what kind of tools he has, stuff like that. So, Joe the Condor has... in terms of his movement, he's got a pretty normal dash, pretty normal air dash. He's got double jump like most characters. His regular jump is really short and fast, which is kind of nice, but doesn't matter too much. In terms of his normals, he has the standing light, which is a great move. It recovers really fast, so you can do dash pressure strings like this. It hits low. It's a standing low, which is cool. He also has this crouching light, which is actually a little faster than standing. It's like 1 frame faster. So if you're really trying to make hard links or like challenge in pressure situations, this is actually a little better. But, this move has more range. So in general, you'll be using this one. Standing mid, it's okay range, but mostly it's a combo filler tool. Crouching mid is kind of bad. You're generally going to want to stay away from this one. It looks like maybe an anti-air or something, breaks armor, 2 hits, I don't know, but it kind of whiffs. If you try and do like strings like that, like it has a tendency to drop. So you kind of just want to stay away from it in your combo strings. Standing heavy, he's got this one. So the nice thing about his normals is that they all move you forwards. So that means a few things. Like one, he's pretty good against push block because his whole magic string moves you forwards. You can kind of do cornball stuff like this, but like that's not very real. Moves you forwards though, so you can do stuff like that. That also moves you forwards, and you can kind of pressure strings and kiss around some defensive options. It's fine. Normals around. It's got good pressuring normals. Then there's the crouch C. He doesn't have a swoop. That's the first thing that he gets that's really weird. So he has this move instead of crouch C. So this move, when I first started playing Joe the Condor, seemed really weird. Like, why would you want to use this? It doesn't actually combo out of anything. You can't actually like cancel it like a normal move, and you can't really combo much out of it either. But I'm gonna go ahead and put life gauge on red, and I'm gonna put this on infinity just for later. The nice thing about this crouch C is like it's actually kind of a good fake out move. Like a lot of times in pressure strings you expect like something like that to come like right after the stand C. What you can actually do, and this is like kind of like a level 1 Joe the Condor mix up. After a string you do that and you baroque and you run in. Or you do that, you call assist and you run in after it, right? So what that'll do is, because there's like a noticeable gap between that and that, people like instinctively will press buttons during that, is what'll happen. And then if they do that, on reaction, you can dash up and you can continue for a full Baroque combo. And you'll get the Baroque scaling on that whole combo, which is nice. That means that you'll be getting more damage, they'll be getting less meter, which is cool. The thing about it though is it is pretty fake. If you do this, as anyone who watched my matches with Supra just now can see, you can mash out of that. As soon as if they know that that's coming, they just press buttons, like say they're blocking all guard. Like as soon as they see the C come out, they start pressing buttons, and they can jab you out of it, they can sweep you out of it, they can do whatever. It is a big old gap that you can get blown up on. So you're going to want to mix it up with some of his specials. Speaking of his specials, let's go over those right now. he has his first set of specials is these kicks, Condor kicks. So take the guard off so I can show you what these all do. No guard. The first one is just like, it looks like it puts them in a stagger state. It actually doesn't. You can't grab them out of this. Even if you like break it, there's like a little window where you can hit them and they'll just still be standing. But like, if any kind of time passes here, they're invincible the whole way down. You can't even OTG them during that stuff. It's the really messed up part. Like, the only things that OTG, like, say this, just won't. It'll go straight through. Oh yeah, that's one other thing about his, it does OTG. It has better OTG options, we're gonna get into in a minute, but, it's there. So the light version of the kick does that. So you can Baroque and combo off of it, or you can assist and combo off. It's like I said, it's a really short stun, so like if you don't do the timing just right, it's like I'm not used to doing it outside of combo. But if you don't get the timing just right, you can't combo off of it, right? Yeah. So you do it like that, and like you get a full combo off of it, but it's really short stun on it, and then what looks like them sort of crumpling to a grounded state is actually just them invincible the whole time. So you can't do anything. The mid one, so the light one is the only one that can combo off of normal. So you can do it off of the C and it'll combo, so then you can do other stuff off of it. The B and C versions don't combo off of anything. You have to do stuff. The B1 causes an actual stagger state, so if you can follow up with like normals, then you get combos onto that, but you can't combo into it normally. So in order to combo into it, you either need to use an assist, like if you have an assist that preserves standing, you can then get a stagger combo off of it, or you can do I know stuff like that works. Yeah, you can do stuff like that if you want it. It's not really worth it for combo damage, but there are ways to get into it. It is a way to cause a stagger state, which can be useful for corner combos if you want to get advanced, but it's not super good. C version of the kick. It is very slow, but it causes a lot. So, if you get into that, you can do stuff like this, and, get combos that way. Basically, this is another one where at low levels you kind of bait someone to press a button. This is a good, both that and the light kick, light Condor kick, are good ones to throw out if somebody is mashing on you doing this on a pressure string, because this will armor through that button and pop them, and you'll get a wall bounce into a full combo. And then this one will be sort of frame trap after your normals, so depending on which one you want to use, you kind of want to mix that stuff up. Next specials, I guess, we'll talk about this move. He's got the Welcome to Chicago. Chicago's better. Goes in the throat, shoots you in the head. Light version angles downwards, and OTGs, actually, which is a good thing to show. OTG like that. Mid version goes straight across, go full screen and grab them. Heavy version will go up in the air. Generally, you'll only be using the light one for OTGs in the corner. You can get OTGs after knockdowns, and you can also get OTGs after level 3 super. So, you can get those in the corner. But a good thing to keep in mind is that these all break armor because they're cinematic hits. So if you're playing against giants, this is actually a pretty useful his third move is EP. Oh yeah, I guess I should say the combo. These are half circle forward. The Chicago is a charge back forward, and then the bullets are on DP. He has grounded versions, and he has aerial versions. The difference between the three versions in both ground and air is you get light, medium, heavy. You get more bullets the more of them that you fire. The heavier the version is. So it's not a huge difference, but you know, you can mix them up depending on what you want to do. If you want to be a bit more mobile after it, you use the light version. If you want to just really like commit to like zoning, you can do the heavy version or whatever. You can do, when you're in the air, 2 of these per jump. So what you can do if you really want to stall out, if you want to zone, if you want to do whatever, you can jump up, do 2 of them, Tiger knee the third one, so it gives you a second jump essentially. It refreshes your jump, and you can get a total of 4 of them while you are in the air. This is also valuable, the ground versions are valuable because what used to be like a huge problem for the move, that they completely whiff on standing characters, on all standing characters, is now actually an advantage because you can use them for unblockables. Whiffing means you can go straight into unblockables. So if I put Dummy on all guard, because he never goes into a guard, you can like use that to open people up with unblockables. It's a little slow to start up, so a lot of like the blocks doing like that are kind of maybe not real, depending on your timing, but nice thing is, like all these other moves, even if they're push blocking it, moves you forward, and you can get nice little lead into your unblockable if they're not really ready. But it does take a little bit of time to start up, so you can get poked out of it, you can get jumped out of if you're not super fast on your execution, but that's actually used for it. You don't really want to use it in neutral. It's a pretty hard call out to like try and catch somebody dashing at you like that because of how long of a startup it is. But it's good for unblockables, and then the air version is, like I said, good for sort of stalling, and he actually gets a good projectile game off of it. One thing to keep in mind about this move, it doesn't chip at all, which seems like it would be a bad thing, but in TVC, chip is so that it's actually kind of fine. Like, nobody really has a good chip game anyways, and also it doesn't give them Baroque life if they don't have it already. So if you're doing this at full screen and somebody doesn't have Baroque life, it sort of frustrates them and slows down the game without actually giving them Baroque life, which is something that not a lot of characters can do. So that's actually kind of a positive about it. So the bullets, the DP move has like a lot of sort of weird utility that you could use it for, but not like a super strong neutral that you can just sort of snap out. Last of his specials is the counter, and I'm not really gonna be able to show you the counter here, but if you've seen it, it's super cool. Whole screen turns bright red, and then you're silhouetted in black. Knocks them up. Joe shoots him with his bullet, and then they pop up in the air afterwards. You can OTG for free with that or with that, and if you baroque the like recovery frames. There we go. If you baroque the recovery frames of it, you can juggle off of it while they're still in the air. The easiest juggle extension for me that I find is just standing mid. You baroque the recovery frames, you do standing mid and the launcher, and that should be able to pick up. And the last of his specials is he has a negative edge special in the shurikens. So you can be holding all 3 of your buttons, and you do the light one, medium one, heavy one. And as you can see, they have some different properties. They travel at different speeds. These are all plus on block. And the weird thing about Joe the Condor is you can cancel his specials into them. Yes, that's right. You can cancel his specials into the shurikens. So if you're holding a button down and you're like, oh, I committed to this, block it, you can just release that and you're plus on block again, which is wild. It seems like, except, and the stupid dummy will block high even if it's set to crouch. But these all whiff, as you can see, on crouching, which means even if you would be plus, if they're just blocking crouching, you are whiffing, so you are not actually plus. So they're really only useful in block strings if you if you can predict that's or like you got somebody jailed or something, like weird situations. It's not super useful in general, but they are there, and you can also sort of use them in zoning to sort of supplement. You got that, it covers a little more space, and you can do more weird stuff. But they're there. Mostly what they're used for is combos. Those are going to be sort of the center of Joe the Condor's combos. Because what you're going to want to do is I'm going to hold A here, C here, and then I can start doing stuff like that in the air, which lets me continue the combos. Things like that. So, because you get 2 jumps and 1 air dash per jump, you're going to want to, as much as possible, stuff as many special moves in between the jumps as possible. So this lets you do that. So what you do is use one here, dash, jump, another one, dash, use the 3rd one into another special, and it lets you extend his combos in the air a lot more than pretty much any other character, which actually gives him some good damage. It's not the best damage in the game, but he's got good damage. And the other cool thing about those is that on VAR, you can actually hold those even when the other character is out. So I was holding those while Roll was out, and I already had the charge ready for when he VAR'd in. So he's a good character to have on the back for VARs. The problem with having him second on the team, though, is that this is his assist, and that is not useful very much. So it's just like it is on point in that it whiffs on crouching or even standing opponents. So can't use it in block strings. There's some combo extensions you can do with it depending on the character, but it has really weird sort of consistent hit patterns. And you can use it to sort of control aerial space. If you're trying to advance on the ground, you can use it to sort of keep people out of the air. It's decent at that, but in general it's bad assist. I would say it's definitely bottom half, probably bottom 5 or 10 assists. So those are his specials. In terms of his supers, he has 3 supers. He has this one. He has both a ground and an aerial version of it. Where if the second salvo of shurikens hits, it will go into an animation. A couple things to note about this super. There actually is a close standing version of this, where he will walk up and punch you. It doesn't do any extra damage. It's really hard to set up. You have to be super close. Most combos into it won't even work. Even if you do stuff like this, you're usually not close enough. Well, you were a lot of times you just sort of there, so it's working there. But it's there, for what it's worth. The aerial version, so I'm not going to be able to set it up in time here, but there are actually 3 shurikens that come out in each round, and the middle shuriken has to hit. That's the one that triggers the animation. There are times, and it's just like a random spacing thing that you kind of need to get used to, but if they're too high when you use the super and only the top shuriken hits, the animation won't happen. If you play Joe the Condor, you'll see that happen every once in a while, and for a while you'll be like, why? I don't understand. That's why. That's another little cross that we Joe the Condor players have to bear. Second super is, I'm just going to say, the level 3. He's got the Tatsumaki Fighter. And yeah, does good damage, and the nice thing about it, there are 2 nice things about it. One nice thing about it is that it's one of the only level 3s that's usable in the air. There's only a few of them in the game, so that makes, again, its combo potential really good. And the second thing, I'll show you in a second, is it leaves you in an OGGable state, so you can do things like that after it. Oh, and I should have said about the other level 1 super. They're also actually in an OGGable state, which is really only valuable for rollback. I'm trying to talk at the same time and I'm messing it up. 1 second. Trying to, so like if you do this, and then you right away do that, they're actually still in an OTGable state, so you can link roll super after that. Or, I don't actually know. I think Casher and super would work there too, but for what it's worth, that does work. Then there's the third super, which everyone knows and loves. Fucking bird missiles. This super is hot garbage. There it is. So, there are a couple characters that can combo with this. Mostly it's Chun-Li can do it, Vijo can do it, Soki can do it. There's like a few ways that you can do it, but mostly it's characters that have supers that they can combo off of on their own. So what you'll do is you'll team super with the bird missiles, and then they'll continue their combo, if that makes sense. So like Chun-Li would do her lightning leg super and call that in the back, and then she'll keep going, and then because that launches at the end, she'll, you know, do like a little extension and then knock down. And the bird missile, the last one, will actually OTG. So, you know, you have to basically waste all this time right here with the rest of the combo, and then that'll OTG, and you can pick up again off of it. And you have to either block that missile, because as you can see, it hits you as well, or you can do fun things like crossover counter it, and then like combo off of that. There's some things to do, but generally it's trash. So that's sort of a look at its move list, but what is Joe supposed to do as a character? Okay, so basically the problem with Joe is he has kind of no really hard mix-ups. He relies on reads. He's a pressure character who relies a lot on being able to read how your opponent is going to try and defend you. You can do a lot of like this and neutral, and like you can do this and like, you know, try to pressure and that kind of stuff. Let me put this on block. So yeah, you're gonna be like pressure like this, trying to pressure like that, kind of bait things out, kind of ducking in and out and trying to convince your opponent to press buttons is essentially his whole game. where it's like if you think they're going to just try and sit there and block you out, you try and bait them to press buttons with like something longer like that. If you feel like they're sort of heavy on pressing buttons, you try and bait it with like the armored kick, or you try and like frame trap them with something like that, like, you know, whatever. But he kind of has no mix-ups. His jump C is probably his best mix-up tool because it has a little bit of a cross-up hitbox on it like that. So if you can, like, you know, force them to block something and then like kind of get over them, it's a small cross-up hitbox, but it is there. Just like not getting it, but like it is a cross-up hitbox there, and you can. It's kind of his only real mix-up tool is like you jump C in the front or you jump C in the back. Other than that, he's just pressure, which is why one of the big reasons why I put him low. He's obviously a point character because he has poor assist value and sort of good pressure normals, but then and he has good combo damage, but he has no mix-ups at all. Basically, is his problem. So, in neutral, you're going to kind of want to do stuff like this and kind of frustrate your opponent and like get them into a mindset where they want to engage you up close. Joe is sort of lucky in that he has, you know, this kind of stuff that can make it feel like he's playing his own game, but really he wants to be in close and try and land combo damage. So you're gonna want to try and play a range game, make them feel like you want to stay away from them. Maybe if you get in there, just kind of duck away, do stuff like this. Make them feel like you're trying to keep them away, but there's no ultimate game plan there. So what you're gonna want to ultimately do is get in close and try and pressure. And then it becomes mixing up his options like, yeah, this. These kicks for frame traps, or baiting the armor, or even something like if they really get happy on pressing buttons, you can go straight into counter and things like that. And then you just kind of have to play that game, and you really have to outguess your opponent in terms of how they're going to respond to your block strings in order to get damage. The nice thing is that he gets a good reward out of it. And these days, you know, he has unblockable to work with. But generally, it's just kind of a struggle. He's a little bit of a struggle. In terms of an assist, you're going to want something that's going to enable him to keep his block strings going. So Roll is something I like to use. She's really heavy on the block strings, and she also enables some cool combos. If I turn off guard here. Wait for her to come back. Okay. She enables that with her stagger, and then you get pretty good damage. So you want something that keeps your block strings going. Morgan Ryu work well, Roll works well, any of the just sort of shoulder charge assists, like an Alex, a Soki, even a Saki, or like an Ipatsuman work fine. Things that help you keep your pressure strings going, because you really don't want to, once you start pressuring someone, let them get out. You want to make sure that they feel pressured by Joe. If they don't, like I said before, he doesn't have mix-ups, so he relies on them feeling like they're being pressured and they have to get out of their block strings. So you want an assist that makes them feel like you're going to be able to keep pressuring them and bait them into pressing something, making a poor decision on defense, or even like bait them into just like sitting there in blocks long enough that you can like go for like a mix-up like that, you know. So in general, I guess that's Joe. I'm gonna stop recording now. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. So thanks to everyone on YouTube.